and welcome to Spring Leaf Stables. Now this is a little project I've been working on for a little while now, and since I didn't think YouTube has enough inspiration for barn or equestrian builds, I thought I might as well showcase this for you guys to get some inspiration for your own build. Now before you ask, this is a single player world, so unfortunately you can't come and visit, but this also uses mods, a texture pack and shader packs, and I'll be linking all of what I use in the description below. But since you guys can't join and see the build for yourself, I thought what might be really nice is for you guys to be able to get your horses into this barn. I'll be explaining that a little later on, so stick around if you're curious about that. So without any further ado, I'm going to start out with the actual tour. So, out here I didn't do much just because I was focusing more on the inside of the barn and kind of the areas around that and not kind of, how you walk up. I was thinking about doing a car park, but then I figured that kind of ruins the aesthetic of the kind of nature walk in. So here we've just got a standard kind of hedge archway, and if you're wondering, these are the fairy lights mod. Again, you don't need any mods to build an equestrian center or anything like that. I've just used mods to make my life easier and to kind of spice up the build a little bit more. So yes, these are the fairy lights. I think they're super cute and they go with the build very well. So as you come inside, you come to the fountain. Now, if you know me, I adore fountains. I think they are gorgeous. They just add so much to the world. And if you're kind of going for a sleek, modern, or kind of posh look to your barn, a fountain is definitely a must-have, just because it just looks so pretty and it really suits your palette if you get the colors right. So here, if you're wondering, this is actually diamond blocks, but they've retextured them in the Photorealism pack, which is what I'm using right now, and I figured that it looked really cute without kind of copying the blue from the barn over there. This kind of spices it up a little bit without being too far from what kind of color scheme you're going with. So this is a really pretty design. Feel free to take inspiration from it. I do not mind at all. But after you come to the fountain, there's kind of this circle around, and there's different ways for you to go. So of course you go straight on first, and this is the main barn. So we've got some nice flowers leading up to kind of give some color, and as you come down you'll see that the barn is actually a T-barn. So this is the standard design, I feel, for most barns, just because it's really sleek, it's elegant, and it can fit quite a lot in without being too bulky. So if you've seen my previous builds, I do have a habit of sticking to this color palette. It's just got the white concrete and the light blue concrete on the top, and I just feel like it works really well. It's just really cute looking. It doesn't stand out too badly, but at the same time it does add a pop of color, which I really like. But something I forgot to mention, I will actually be doing this as a series. So I'll be building loads of different barns with loads of different palettes and loads of different kind of building styles. So I might be doing a western barn, and I might be doing a racing barn, and I'll be doing kind of more homely barn that you might find on your, average farm. So you guys can get all the inspiration you need for when you decide to do your building on Minecraft, whether that's on a single player world or on a server. I just want to give everyone as much inspiration as I possibly can. So as we come through the barn here, the first thing you kind of see is these grooming stations. So again, I was going with a really sleek design. So we've got the glass panes kind of as a separator, and then I've just got these functioning fences so you can kind of tie your horse up and you can kind of move around while you're tacking up and brushing up and everything like that. So the actual floor is grey wool, and it's kind of been retextured, and I thought it looked more like a mat that you would find. Now you wouldn't usually maybe use this mat if you were outside, for example. You might prefer to use stone or something you might actually find at a barn, but since this was an indoor thing, I thought you might as well put down the mat to make it a bit more comfortable. Now this has probably caught your eye. This is actually a saddle stand, and I'm so sorry, but I don't know which mod this is from. I believe, and don't quote me on this, it's from the Placeable items mod, but I could be wrong. So it's just a simple saddle stand, and it's usable, so you can actually place, if I go ahead and take that, you can actually place a saddle on it, which I think is really cool, just because it adds something extra to your build. But again, as I said before, you don't necessarily need all of these things. These chests are completely empty because I haven't gotten the chance to go through and put things in them, but I probably will stock them up at a later date. So this is just kind of flipped over here. It's the exact same thing. So then we move on to the stall design. Now you can play around so much with stalls. Like, there are so many ways that you can put them, but I went for a more sleek, modern, and also airy look. So I wanted to have these kind of gaps so you can see the horse and the horse can see over here and kind of look at the stall mates, if you will. And I just wanted it to be not a massive stall, because I feel like massive stalls will end up looking a bit tacky and a bit, you know, too big. So I went with this simple kind of smaller design that looked really well kept and pretty in general. So we've just got some layering here, and I wanted to add some extra textures with this kind of stairs, and this is just a simple block and the upturned stairs. So these are just basic iron doors, but these are retextured, so they look more horsey and they look more like they fit the build. But if you're using normal Minecraft, you may have to play around and say use trapdoors or maybe fences even to kind of make this look more sleek. Now inside the stall, this is just retextured yellow terracottas to kind of look like flax, and I'm really liking it. It just makes it look so much more realistic and slick as well. Now you can always use hay blocks, dirt blocks, or even planks to kind of fill up your barn, but if you are using a texture pack, feel free to retexture these to make it look like flax. Now the back here, we've got a basic window as well, because I wanted to let some natural light in. Because of the problem of shaders, it makes dark areas look really dark, so I figured I might as well let some natural light in. Then at the back here, we've kind of got our cauldron using as a water bucket. I think I've seen this design literally everywhere. It's probably the best thing to do rather than just putting a hole in the ground and putting in some water, because it actually looks realistic and I really like the textures of the water as well. So over here we've got a basic hay net. Now I once was on a server where you actually had to leave hay in the stalls or the horses would basically go hungry. So everyone kind of did this thing where they took the hay and did like a little pile and then maybe put like barrier blocks on the top so that they couldn't get through. But the thing with that is it takes up quite a lot of space, and if you got loads of stalls, that's just going to take up so much space and not look very sleek. So I came up with this kind of hay net design. Now you can as well use fences, but personally I thought the fences looked a bit bulky for this design, so I went down and put end rods, and I'm not 100% on them because of the fact the shaders make them look a bit glowy instead of bright light that would look more normal, but it's completely up to you depending on what your build needs and wants. So down here is literally just copy pasted all of the stalls down the side, and then I went and copy pasted the entire barn that way and that way. But then I was left with this kind of center bit here, so I figured I might as well put some hay blocks here, because if you're actually using a barn and you have people coming in and you're having to feed horses and things like that, you would want to have easy access to this hay pile, since it's usable and it takes up so little space, since it's right in the center of the barn but it's not protruding out and in everyone's way. So I figured this was a nice way to put a pile of hay, and these are retextured daylight sensors. If you're wondering, you can always use wooden slabs if you prefer, just to kind of spice things up a bit more so that it doesn't look so bland. But personally I really like this idea of a hay pile right here. Now many people have hay lofts, but I really like skylights, so I don't tend to have hay lofts that much since they kind of obscure the light that's coming in. But over here, now this is again retextured yellow clay blocks, yellow terracotta, and I've just put some ladders up the side to kind of make them look like they were packaged. Just to kind of make them look more sort of realistic. This again is debatable, you might not want to put this in. You can always replace these blocks with hay and make them kind of hay blocks, but preferably I kind of liked how, since I've got the hay over there, I have the kind of flax bedding over here. Now I really like this one because this one looks like it's been opened and kind of used, and the temptation for making a modern sleek barn look absolutely perfect is so strong. But I always feel if you have hints of kind of living and people actually using it, it kind of adds something to the barn. It adds a kind of sense of liveliness, since it doesn't just look like you've just built it and then kind of walked away, that people are actually in and out and using this place. So over here I had some extra space, so I decided to put in a tack room and a feed room. Now the tack room, a lot of the designs you might have seen in my 10 Minecraft tack room ideas, and if you want to know how to make a lot of these designs, you might want to check that out too. So over here we've just got the simple bridle rack, got some more kind of halter, bridle hanger things, and then over here we've got the kind of storage units. I really like these because they're super sleek. They don't they're not super bulky like if you were to put a whole block here, because the doors are kind of folded in and make it look really, really sleek. So once again, I've been using these saddle stands. Again, you don't have to use these, but I did think that this adds a little something to the rest of the build. So over here, we've got some more halters, just simple halters that you can actually come up and grab if you are actually in a survival world and you are using this legitimately. Then over here, I thought I might add some little bit of decoration, and I've got a table here with a usable hat stand. So if you click this, you can get the leather cap. You can go off, have your riding lesson, and then when you come back, you've got a little stand to put it on. And this adds just a little something extra, because I always feel like tack rooms can look a little bit dull and just not very lively. And I really think this kind of hat stand makes it look so much like it's actually realistic. So then over here, we move on to the tack room. So I've got some really nice feed boxes here. Again, I haven't filled any of them. Now over here, I had a little bench, so I thought I might as well put some hay blocks on them. This isn't modded. So this is actually a custom head. Now, if you don't know how to use a custom head, you don't need mods, but you do need a command block. And I'll be linking in the description how to use custom heads and everything like that. So if you're on a server, you'll probably have to have admin permission, or if you're on the single player world, you can do /give and then put your name in, command_block. And then it'll give you the command block. You place that down, put your command in, and then power it with redstone. So it's pretty simple, just you kind of have to know what you're doing. But these over here are actually a mod. So this is the placeable items mod. So as you can see, if I take the carrot here and then shift click it, it actually places the item. So that's a vanilla item that you can actually place on the ground, which I really, really like, because it just adds something extra without it being too intrusive, like, oh, this is definitely a mod. Over here, we've got our little crate with an apple in it and a hay block. Again, these are all completely optional designs, but I just really like them. They add something to the whole barn, and you may want to make a separate building for these kind of rooms, and that is perfectly fine as well, but you'll probably have to fill them up a bit more if you've got an entire building dedicated to a feed room and a tack room. So that is basically it for the main barn. So we're going to come out this side. Now, both sides of the barn have an entrance and an exit. So over here, we come out to the paddocks, pastures. I never know what to call them. I get them confused all the time. I'm just going to call it a pasture because it looks big. So that's my logic. Here we've just got a simple design of a square pasture, and I've just kind of nestled them in between the middle bit of the barn and the side bits, just so it looks really sleek and it doesn't kind of stick out anywhere. But I've got it kind of ringed with trees just to make it look a little bit more sheltered and also give a bit of life to the entire build. Now down here, I've just got some grass just placed sporadically out. Over here, even though you can't see it very well, I've got some cauldrons set down as in a water trough, and over there we have some hay net, hay block things. Now I've seen many designs put massive kind of piles of hay in the middle or put little feeders at the side. That's perfectly great as well. I just figured this looks more of a sleek design for what I was going for the entire barn. Now you can also spice up your paddock by using little trees in the middle and maybe even putting a little water pond, but I figured, again, since this is a sleek design, I'm just going to keep it super simplistic. Now, one thing I would say is always keep your paddocks kind of different in their walling. Don't just use fences, because I figure fences can sometimes look a bit boring. So if you're using different designs, like I've used the fence and the shrubbery below. Now, if you're in survival, this isn't actually super expensive to build, because, you know, it's just wood and leaves. All you need is shears and a big axe to cut down loads of trees for these. But overall, it just adds so much to the paddock, since it isn't just a straight kind of set of fences. And over here, I've just got the exact same thing. I copy pasted them, and I just really like how they look in general. So back here, I've actually got a mucking out pile. So I figured this is more realistic, since I know a lot of horse servers have kind of a plugin where horses actually poop carpet, and this is a really nice design since it's usable. So if you've got loads of carpets left over, you can always, whoops, I need to toggle down full. You can always just plop them down here and it'll end up looking kind of cool. So again, I've mixed it in with daylight sensors. You can kind of use hay blocks as well, just to kind of give it a more realistic feel. And I've kind of put textured blocks down so it looks more realistic in general. I went for a really thin design with the trapdoors standing up. And on the outside, I've actually got lavender. So I figured if you did have a massive poop pile, you'd want to put lavender down just because it would kind of cancel out the smell a little bit. And if you're wondering where I got the lavender from, it's of Biomes of Plenty. It is a kind of a difficult mod to run because of how much it adds to the game, but for what it does add, it is definitely worth it if you can run it. So other than that, that is pretty much it for the main barn. So we're going to move back over to our fountain. So that's kind of the central point, and a lot of these things kind of link together, but I figured to make things non-confusing, I'll just come back to the center here. So if you were to go straight on, you'd go straight to the barn, but if you take a right, over here you come to the arena section. So now these are just simple kind of lunge arenas. You might be working a younger horse or breaking in a horse in here, and I figured I'd put 4 of them in just because this is a quite large barn, so probably lots of people would be working at once. Now over here is, I don't know why this is one of my favorite arenas, but this is the lesson arena. I feel like this is a perfect size for a lesson arena because you can have so many people in here. You can do jumping, you can do dressage, and there's still enough room without it being so big that you're struggling to see the sides. So I really like the size of this arena, and I like the fact that there's lots of space, and in the middle you can put up jumps and stuff like that. And especially if you're into role playing, you can put down say a chest here and put the equipment you need for a jump and kind of set jumps up as you're taking the lesson. Now over here we've got kind of a massive sort of lunge arena, I suppose. Again, I consider it more like a warm-up arena just because it's too small to say be a lunge arena. Maybe if you had 2 horses in here or you were learning to canter, this would be the arena that you would go to. So as you come down the main path and then you take a left, this is kind of the jumping section. So over here I've just got some really basic jumps set up. So if you were warming up or you were just kind of beginning to jump, these would be the kind of jumps that you would take. And over here we've got the competition arena. So let's start off with just outside the arena. So I've just got some simple seating set up. So you can sit down on these if you've got a mod or a plugin, but they're kind of difficult to see because I've actually got the slabs on this height, so you kind of need to stand to see what's going on over there. But over here we've also got some way where you can kind of hitch your horses up if they're waiting to go into the arena. Now the arena itself I adore. I always see on the TV these really beautiful colourful jumps on the kind of show jumping arenas, and I figured how can I do that without it looking really tacky? So if you're wondering, these are just coloured concrete blocks, and then here I've got the glass panes, so I've got the colour of the block here, also mixed in with the white to kind of make it look like a realistic painted bar. And then I've just topped it off with a quartz slab. So I've done all sorts of colours in here, and you can pick whatever palette you wish. You might go for a more muted colour, say greys and blacks, to make it look really sleek and cool, but I went for some really colourful designs just to kind of spice up the entire build because we don't have that much coloration in it. So if you're wondering how the course would go, I'm not the best at building courses, but I did try my best. So you start off at this pink jump, then you come to the blue kind of small water jump, come across to the purple, come over the diagonal orange, go over the double green, then come back across to the blue diagonal, come all the way around to this kind of pink double thing. I'm not sure what this is called, but it's difficult to do, that's all I know. And then you come around to the final double height orange. Now you can mix these designs up so much. I know if you use slabs you can actually make a kind of oxer, but I think these are really cool looking, and I really like how the design looks even from the air and if you're on the ground as well. So you can always play with your arenas and kind of see what you want to do, but that's how I took mine. So over here we have something that actually took me surprisingly a long time. So this is the dressage section. So over here we've just got a simple warm-up training dressage arena. Again, you can kind of use this, say if you were doing competitions, you'd kind of put people in here to warm up and then take them over there for the actual competition. This arena is so interesting because I actually put down the letters. So I went and googled how to make the letters on banners, and there are different commands that you can use to actually put them into your game without crafting them, but I just did them by hand because that's simpler. And I googled which letters go where to make it more realistic, and if you're really into realistic stuff, this is perfect for you because you can actually do real life dressage moves and everything like that, and it just makes it look so much more sleek. It just adds so much to it. And as you can see, I changed the design from this kind of quartz slab look to the kind of fences, just because I'm not sure what kind of prompted that, but I think it just spices it up a little bit more, and I really like how it looks in general. So that is it for the dressage arena. Now we go to the biggest part of the arenas. So this is the cross-country course, and I'll kind of run you through it. So here is kind of the starting gathering area, and this is the start gate. So as you come through, you come over this section here, go over kind of some simple jumps, so you're just sort of warming up. Then you come to this jump here, again sort of simple, and once again into a simple log jump. Now after you've done that, you come across to this sort of hill. This is kind of a basic hill, so you come up from the water and over. Then you take this small kind of leap of faith thing down. It's only 2 blocks, so you won't take any damage. Then you come down over into this hedge jump. Again, hedge jumps are really hard to do just because of the shapes in Minecraft, and if you don't get the proportions right, it can look really weird and wonky, but I did try my best, and I kind of like how this comes out with. You might want to spice your hedge jump up with some oak or spruce logs, just to kind of make things a little bit more interesting. Then as you come round, you come into the kind of forested section. Again, this is very simple. This is a small log jump you've got, and then you've got a kind of simple diagonal here. So overall, this section is pretty easy to do. Then we've got the double leaf jump. This is probably the hardest section of the course here, and then you go back into the water. Now that section is definitely a kind of intermediate section, so if you're only intermediate, you'd probably go off and go back to the beginning, or maybe do that a couple times. But if you come over here, this is the more difficult section. So as you come down, you come to this kind of fenced hay block area, and I really like this design. Again, if you're doing a cross-country course, you'll want to add all sorts of jumps in. You don't want to kind of do the same log and leaf kind of thing all the way through. You want to spice things up a bit. If you're wondering why these fences look so weird, it's because they're actually from Mr. Crayfish's furniture mod. Again, you can make these with normal fences. You can do whatever you want, and you don't need mods to do it. I just decided to do it with the mods because it just adds a little something extra to it. So we've kind of got a double here. Now this section is really difficult. So it's a jump, but you've got a ditch in between. Now as you come over, you're kind of coming at an angle, so you have to get the timing absolutely perfect to not hit that and then fall into the ditch, or not go in too early and only make that jump. So that's kind of a difficult area. Then we come round here and you come to this jump. So this is a more steep hill that you come up, and you got to time it right as soon as you hit this block to click over. Then this is kind of a more of a drop of faith, so you kind of have to be going at the right speed to take that down to not take any damage. Then as you come round here, we come back into kind of a wooded area, and this area is very tricky. So because of how dense the leaves are, it's really difficult to get over these jumps, just because if you hit your head on leaves, the horse will drop back down and you'll end up smacking into the jump. But again, this is 1 up per block, so you'll end up just running over it anyway if you didn't want to jump. So it does get kind of dark in here, so I've just put some extra leaves to kind of guide people back over this way, and we've got a simple 1 log jump because you can't really get much higher in this wooded area. Now as you come out, this jump is definitely questionable. Have you ever seen those triangle jumps that people have to go over? They're really difficult to make in Minecraft, but I did try my best. I kind of like how this turns out. It's not the easiest to take, but it also adds something to the course as a whole, just because it's so different. So you'd come over this here, and now normally in cross country, there's some really kind of grand jump at the end, and I figured I'd make this white horseshoe to kind of accentuate the fact that it's the last jump, and it makes for some really cool shots. If you've got a photographer here and people are coming through just there, it makes it look really, really cool. So then you just come to the finish line, and you can kind of cool off and hitch your horse up here, and you're finished for the cross country. So I really like that course, but that took me the longest, and I was using world edit, so I kind of edited in all these trees and the path and everything, and the water as well. So if you're doing that by hand, you may want to do kind of a smaller scale so that it's not too much work for you to do all in one. So that is basically it for the arenas. Now we've got one more section to show you, and this section is definitely a bit more abstract. I don't see many people doing this just because it doesn't come straight to mind when you think of an equestrian build. I watch a lot of different real life equestrian YouTubers. So I've watched people who do racing, or they're a training jockey, or they do jumping, cross country, and also liberty. So I figured we might as well incorporate that in. So that's that arena. Over here first though, we've got our aqua therapy pool. Now there's loads of different designs you can take for an aqua therapy pool, but I kind of saw an image on YouTube that I really like the design of, so I thought I might as well incorporate it in, and it works really well. You know, you just pull the horses into the water by a lead, and then you kind of lead them along here, and then go around, and then you end up at that side. And if you want to do multiples, you just get back in and then go around again. Now this again is great for a roleplay world, because if a horse, if a horse is injured or tired or anything like that, you can take them for a swim, so it's not quite so straining on their bodies. Over here we've got a really simple aqua treadmill. So in my previous designs I've usually made them so you can switch them on and off, but because of space and I was going for a more sleek design, I figured if we just leave the water running, you can pull the horses in here, and when you tie them up, because of the fact that they're tied, they will want to move towards the fence, but the water will be pushing them back, so they actually end up looking like they're walking forward, and it's an actual aqua treadmill. And I put some trapdoors in to kind of make it look like it's draining at the back here, to kind of make things look a bit more realistic. So this actually works, which is why I like the design so much. Then we come over here and you've just got a simple hitching post. If you wanted to, say, take multiple horses, you can make them wait here, or if you wanted to dry them off, you can just pop them here in the sun for a little bit. Now we move on to this is probably the most interesting arena. So this is the desensitizing arena. So this is an arena you would take, say, younger horses or horses that are more skittish or newer horses. And this is your typical blue tarp that you show horses to kind of get them used to the sound and the feel and even the look of, say, a big scary plastic tarp. And I put this in the arena. Again, this isn't usable, but it just adds an extra pop of color and it looks really cool, if I'm being honest. Over here we have this bunting. This is again from the Fairy Lights mod, and you can just kind of walk your horse in and out to make them used to the feeling of going past something papery, and they don't have to be scared of the colors and such, so this will desensitize them. Over here, oh yeah, by the way, these are Ents. Don't mind them, they won't come normally in your game, but because I've got so many, I can't punch it, because I've got so many trees around here, they've spawned in from Dr. Zark's Mo Creatures mod, so they're not going to bother us. Here we've got a little stand that they can kind of get used to standing on harder surfaces and kind of stepping down from that. Again, something really simple, but it makes it kind of interesting if you've got a horse that you are imagining that you're training or anything like that. So over here we've got kind of the desensitizing to sound area. We've got a little stereo. You can put a jukebox if you wanted to, and I'm just using the doorbells. If you're in 1.14, there is an actual bell that you can use, so I definitely recommend if you're trying to kind of desensitize your horses. Now, this bit, how do I explain this? Have you ever seen those, pool floaties that are the foam ones that come in little noodles, and they kind of stick them out from a pole at the side to walk their horses through to desensitize them from plasticky stuff that's moving against them, and to kind of just get them used to walking through stuff without spooking. This isn't really usable because it's a 1 block, and if you make it 2, it looks kind of weird. But if you're looking to make your arena look more realistic, and this is kind of a Liberty desensitizing area, this is a perfect design because it's really sleek. These actually go sideways, and at the end of the day, it just adds something extra to your arena. Now, I don't really know what this is supposed to be, but this is from the same mod, whichever mod that is, that the saddle stands came in, and you just place a horse down. And I figured this is cool if you were desensitizing a horse to being around objects and kind of getting them used to stuff. So overall, you can kind of play with whatever you want in this arena, just because there's so much you can possibly do with this. Other than that, that's kind of it for this area. But if we come down here, this barn is a copy-pasted version of the one over there, but it's much smaller and it isn't in the T design. But this barn is the recovery barn. So this is the barn that horses would go into if they're sick or injured and they need some time out, say a quarantine, from the rest of the horses. So here we've got some kind of examination table. tables that horses would stand up on. You can tie them here, they can get a little slit to look outside. Then you get the vets to kind of come on the inside, check them up, give them shots and everything like that. Again, this is the same design on this side, but this one's just got a little crate so you can kind of put items in it. I mean, you can't actually, but it does add a little extra. You can decorate these so much better than I've done, but again, I was going for a really simple design that is also pretty functional in my opinion. So as you come down, these are the exact same store designs, except for the fact that these walls are raised. So instead of being 1.5 blocks tall, they're 2 blocks tall, just so that you get a sense of more closure and the horses can't kind of spread diseases between themselves. Okay, well, I'm losing my voice for some reason. Probably been talking too much. But as you come over here, these are kind of the barn doors. I wanted to make this area look a bit more enclosed and kind of sheltered. So I've got this door closed, but this door is open. So again, these are kind of lined with hedges to make it look more sleek, but also really functional since it kind of tunnels the horses down so they can't just run off. Here we've got a simple circular arena that you can use if you were, say, exercising a horse or getting a horse used to being worked again, but you didn't want the distraction of all the other arenas over there. Then down the sides, they're exactly the same on both sides. We've just got a different design for a quarantine paddock, if you will. So these are carpets that are stacked over each other, and I just feel like they add this kind of, they look like the wire fences, like the electrical fences. So I really like the design since they're sleek and they're not too bulky, but they look so much more different and they look a bit more medical, to be fair, than the ones over there, since they look, I don't know how to explain it, they just look more harsh on the eyes without being too bulky and in your face. So these paddocks are all copy pasted, and I just figured you don't want a massive paddock because that would be a waste of space, but you don't want it being so small the horses can't move around. So I feel like these are perfect sizes for individual horses to be in but still be outside. Now here we've got our basic water troughs, and this is meant to be kind of a medical horse ball so they can kind of have something to play with if they get bored. Now it's exactly the same on both sides, and you can choose to do your kind of medical barn or just forget the medical barn as a whole if you're going for a smaller build. I just added this to add an extra layer of kind of poshness and the fact that you've got your own center where horses can go to kind of recoup and recover. So that is basically it for the entirety of the barn. If anything kind of inspired you or gave you an idea for your barn, feel free to take it and use it however you wish. Just let your imagination go absolutely wild. And oh, I almost forgot to mention, so if you want to get your horses into my barn, all you have to do is comment down below the name of your horse, the breed of your horse, the color of your horse, and the personality of your horse. So I will be picking about 10 horses to go into my barn, and they will each be name tagged and have their little personality traits, and you'll be able to see them in the next episode of this. I'm going to call this series Equestrian World because of the fact that all I'll be building is equestrian-based facilities. If you have any suggestions of what my next build should be, say if you wanted a western barn or a racing barn or a farm type barn, feel free to let me know in the comments below and I will definitely consider them. So I hope you guys enjoyed, stay positive, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.